Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Karna Pega Zara and my student ID is 64251202. Today I want to address a pervasive issue within our academic environment: smoking in unauthorized campus area. A university campus is more than just a place for lectures and exams. It is our national intellectual laboratory, tasked with training future leaders. This duty goes beyond academic rigor. It includes developing our character and instilling healthy habits. When it comes to smoking, we face a critical tension between the concept of individual rights and the irrefutable concern of public health. The toxic components of cigarette smokes are well documented. Their presence in shared campus space fundamentally violates the rights of non-smoker students, lecturers, and staff who deserve to breathe clean air. As a higher education institution, our campus should be the primary standard barrier for health and well-being. Stabilizing a policy that fairly respect the rights of both smokers and non-smokers is undeniably challenging. However, the difficulty of achieving a complete prohibition should never be an excuse for inaction. To forge a truly healthy environment, a clear, comprehensive policy is essential. This must involve a complete ban on smoking within all primary indoor venues, classrooms, lecture halls, libraries, laboratories, office, and near all main entrances. If the campus must accommodate smokers, designated smoking areas should be established. This space must meet strict criteria. They must be fully open air. They must be located significantly away from the main traffic flow and congregation points. They must be adequately signposted to ensure compliance. Beyond more enforcement, the campus administration must couple the implementation of administrative regulation with supportive educational programs. This program should not to be punitive. Rather, they should demonstrative and supportive idealism for those wanting to quite positively endorsing cassation as a change the institution cares about and supports. The current, the current situation where the issue of smoking in unauthorized areas remain uncontained demonstrates a level of carelessness that puts our entire community at risk. To our fellow smokers, please exercise consideration and respect the rights of your colleagues to clean air. Kindly and strictly use the designated smoking areas. Moreover, I urge you to consider taking the courageous step to begin the process of quitting. This is an act of responsibility to yourself and to those around you. To the campus administration, it is crucial that the policy on smoking does not become mere paper tiger. A strong rule on paper, but weak in execution. Consistency and strength in implementation are key. The actions of a few individuals currently undermine the well-being of the majority. The sex of smoking in shared space signals an institution with unfulfilled smoke-free aspiration. We all share a stake in this. Every student, staff member, and faculty member must take shared responsibility. Not our fear of punishment, but in a spirit of fellowship and a collective hope for a truly revitalized smoke-free campus. Our aspiration should be a campus where the air is clean and the health of every member is protected. Beyond the immediate health concern, the continued tolerance of smoking in shared area also carries a hidden economic and social cost. Economically, passive smoking-related illness impose a burden on our healthcare facilities and lead to lost productivity among staff and students. Furthermore, cleaning and maintaining areas frequently used for smoking, particularly where cigarette butts are improperly discarded, adds on unnecessary expense to the university budget. Socially, a lack of enforcement conveys a message of indifference. It suggests that the institution is willing to compromise the fundamental well-being of it, its community for the sake of avoiding difficult policy implementation. This erodes the trust and diminishes the perception of the campus as a safe, respectful, and health-conscious environment. We cannot afford to send the message that an individualist habit supersedes the collective welfare. To truly succeed, our commitment must be comprehensive. It requires more than just placing a few signs. Clear sanctions. The administrations must implement clear, tiered, and consistently enforce sanctions for those who violate the designated smoking policy. This needs to be communicated openly so that everyone understands the consequence of non-compliance. Health service integration. Our campus healthy service must actively promote smoking cessation programs. This includes providing resources, counseling, and accessible medical support for students and staff who decide to quit. Making quitting easier is a vital part of a supportive policy. Peer and faculty's leadership. We need positive reinforcement led by student organizations, faculty members, and student affairs staff, encouraging peer-to-peer education and leadership in maintaining a smoke-free environment can be far more effective than top-down enforcement alone. The time for health measures is over. We are educating the minds that will shape the future of our nation. We must also cultivate a culture of respect and health responsibility. Let us commit today to a campus environment where the air is clear and the priority is always the collective well-being of every person who walks through this gate. Thank you for the attention and your commitment to this shared responsibility. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we will discuss the present tense, focusing on the most basic and fundamental form, the simple present tense. This tense is very important because it is used to explain things that happen in the present times. Especially, the simple present tense has three main functions. First is it is used to state facts or state, state facts or universal truths, that things things are always true, such as the sun rises in the east. Second, it is used to talk about habits or routines, activities that we do repeatedly. For example, I always drink milk every morning. And third, we use to for fixed schedules such as transport schedule or even timetable. Uh, the example is the train departs at 7 p.m. Let's look how to construct a verbal sentence, which is a sentence that uses a main verb. The basic formula is the subject followed by the base from the verb or verb 1. For the subjects he, she, and it, we add the suffix s and es to the verb. Example, she works in an office. Meanwhile, for subject like I, you, they, we use verb 1 without any addition. Example, I work in an office. To form negative and question sentence, we need the auxiliary verbs do and does. Use does not for the subject he, she, and it, and use do not for the other subjects. The negative example are she does not work here and I don't work here. I do not work here. When using do or does, the main verb always refers to the best form without she, the s, or es ending. Is the nominal sentence, which is a sentence that does not use a verb but uses the to be form am, is, or are to state a condition, identity, or location. The formula is the subject followed by to be and a complement. The division of to be based on subject is I use am. Example, I am a teacher. He, she, it, use is. Example, she is happy. And we, they use are. Example, they are in the park. To negative is very easy. Just add not after the to be. For instance, he is not sick. For question, that the to be is moved to the beginning of the sample of the sentence. For the example is are we late from the class? Is a complete overview of the simple present tense. Remember, this tense is the foundation for talking about facts, habits, and fixed schedule. By mastering the verbal and nominal sentence structure, you can use the simple present tense fluently.